Okay, in this we're going to talk about imaginary numbers and the number system that is what we call the complex number system. So complex number, as you can see by this definition, is any number that can be written as a plus bi. So this is our real part and this is our imaginary part. So the real part is considered our a, and the imaginary part is, actually there's no I there, the imaginary part is the B with the I associated with it. And so when we format our complex numbers, we always separate the imaginary and the real. And this is how we format it. Okay, so we're going to do two examples here. Really, when we're just adding and subtracting complex numbers, we just treat it like a variable. So you'll see here we have our real parts. So the real parts are going to be added together. We have our imaginary parts, so we're going to put those together. So I have negative 10. Oops, sorry about that. I have negative 10 plus 8, negative 6i minus I. So I just kind of group them. And then negative 10 plus 8 is a negative 2. Negative 6 minus I is a negative 7i. And that's how I'd work with them. Now this one, subtraction, same thing. We just got to be careful with the distribution. So this is going to be negative 3 plus 4i, negative 9 plus 2i. So the like terms are the negative 9 and the negative 3, which is negative 12, and then the 2i and the 4i, which is 6i. And that is how we would work with imaginary values by adding or subtracting. And our last example is multiplying, and we really need to look at it as just like it would be 2 minus x, negative 3 minus 4x. You would just FOIL, right? So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and FOIL. We have 2 times a negative 3, which is negative 6. I'm going to change the color for the FOIL. 2 times a negative 4i, so negative 8i. Negative I times a negative 3 is a positive 3i. And notice that if I was to take 3 times x, it would equal 3x. 3 times I is just 3i. So we treat it just like another variable. Now the only difference is the last term. We have a negative times a negative, so we're going to have a positive. 4 I times I is I squared, just like if we had any two variables multiplied together. Now the key that we need to remember is in one of our previous videos we know that I squared is equal to negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to a negative 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave everything the way it is and replace the I squared with negative 1. So now I do that and I get negative 4. So now we're back to one of those basic problems where we're just adding and subtracting. Negative 6 and a negative 4 is a negative 10. And then we have a negative 8i and a positive 3i, and that's going to give me a negative 5i. And that is our solution. So be careful, when we multiply terms, you're going to end up with that I squared, which we replace with negative 1.